It was a Tuesday evening late in October, the kind where rain lingers not in a downpour but a persistent drizzle making everything damp and gray. The air was heavy with moisture and the streetlights cast blurry halos on the slick pavement. I sat inside wrapped in a blanket trying to ignore the chill that seeped through the old window frames, when I heard a faint, delicate scratching at the front door. It was so subtle I almost dismissed it as the wind. Not a knock, something softer, almost apologetic, a hesitant sound barely audible above the drumming of the rain. I hesitated, a little unnerved but curiosity winning over caution as it often does, and opened the door just a crack, peeking out into the stormy night. There he was, a small scruffy ginger cat huddled on the doorstep, seeking refuge from the downpour, fur matted and plastered to his skinny frame, ears torn from some long-ago fight, thin as a shadow barely clinging to life. He looked up at me with wide green eyes that seemed to hold a universe of untold stories, watching, waiting, not pleading but simply observing, as if assessing whether I was friend or foe. In that silent moment something shifted inside me. A wave of empathy washed over me, a connection formed in the space between us. My quiet world, usually so predictable and contained, suddenly had an uninvited guest, a battered soul seeking shelter from the storm. He didn't meow or move closer, just held my gaze, unwavering and intense, a silent question hanging between us, a plea for help conveyed without a single sound. I felt a pang of responsibility, a sudden awareness of the power I held in that moment. The world outside was cold and unforgiving, a harsh and brutal place for a creature so small and vulnerable. But here was a chance to offer warmth, a haven from the storm, a moment of kindness in a world that often felt devoid of it. I opened the door a little wider, a silent invitation, a gesture of trust extended into the darkness. He hesitated, as if weighing his options, considering the risks and rewards of accepting my offer, then stepped forward with a tentative grace, crossing the threshold into my life, forever altering its course. That was the night everything changed. The night a small ginger cat walked into my life and filled it with a love I never knew existed. I couldn't leave him out there. I opened the door wider, a silent invitation. The cat watched, tense, ready to bolt. I stepped back, giving him space, his choice, not mine. He crept in, slow and cautious, sniffing the air, taking in the scent of my quiet life. I stayed still, letting him decide if I was safe. After a long pause he entered, tail low but not tucked. I gently closed the door, shutting out the cold. He flinched at the sound, but didn't run. I poured a little milk into a saucer, my peace offering, and set it down. He circled the room, always near an escape route before finally lapping up the milk, never taking his eyes off me. It was a fragile truce. He accepted my help, but trust would take time. For now, we were two wary souls sharing a roof. The first step toward something more had been taken. The first days were tentative, filled with uncertainty on both sides. It was a delicate period, understanding each other's boundaries. We're a careful dance, a slow waltz of observation and quiet assessment. I named him Leo, inspired by his appearance and the hope he would grow into a brave and confident companion, for his scruffy mane, a little like a lion's, hinting at a hidden strength. He hid under sofas, seeking refuge in the shadows, a safe haven from the unknown, and behind curtains, peering out with wide, cautious eyes, assessing the environment, vanishing at any sudden sound, a testament to his past experiences and ingrained fears. Every loud noise sent him scurrying. I learned to move quietly, to speak softly, creating a calm and predictable space for him, to let him eat in peace, undisturbed and secure in his small act of survival. Gradually he emerged, a slow and deliberate process, marked by small victories. First a glimpse from the doorway, a hesitant peek, testing the waters before fully committing. Then a cautious step into the room, each movement measured and deliberate. I'd sit on the floor reading aloud, filling the space with a soothing, non-threatening sound, pretending not to notice him, allowing him to explore without pressure or expectation. One day, as I sat with my hand outstretched, offering a silent invitation, a gesture of peace, he approached, sniffed my fingers, carefully analyzing my scent, gathering information, and gently rubbed his face against my knuckles, a sign of acceptance, a tentative act of affection. That tiny gesture felt monumental, a breakthrough in our silent communication. He was choosing to connect, actively participating in building a relationship. To trust, a decision made with careful consideration and a leap of faith. Each day, he ventured a little closer, inching his way into my space and into my heart. his body language softening, the tension melting away with each positive interaction. The slow blink, a cat's way of saying, "I trust you," a gentle affirmation. The tentative purr, a soft rumble of contentment, a sign of growing comfort. The way he'd sit nearby, a silent presence, a comforting weight, a companion in solitude. Signs of a bond forming, a connection woven from patience, understanding, and mutual respect. Our friendship grew in silence and patience, not words, a language understood without speaking. I realized I was changing too, becoming gentler, more attentive, more attuned to the subtle cues of another being. Leo was teaching me the language of trust, a lesson learned not through instruction but through shared experience. The warmth in my chest had nothing to do with the heating, it was a different kind of warmth, a warmth of connection. It was the beginning of something real, a genuine bond built on mutual respect and affection. We were no longer strangers but companions on a shared journey, finding solace and connection in each other's presence. Bringing Leo inside was only the start, his mind was still wired for survival. The doorbell or a rustling bag sent him into hiding, haunted by old fears. He devoured food as if it might vanish, guarding his bowl with a low growl. Sleep came in fits, always alert, curled in hidden corners. Old injuries told stories of hardship, a fractured tail, a chipped tooth scars beneath his fur. Even the vet visit was a test of trust, but each day, he learned he was safe. Healing was slow, but it was happening body, mind, and heart. My mission was clear. Make my home a sanctuary, the opposite of the street. I let Leo set the pace, never pushing, always patient. Soft blankets, cozy corners, and gentle play became our routine. At first he watched the feather toy with suspicion, but soon he was pouncing, rediscovering joy. Trust deepened, he slept at the foot of my bed, purred when I stroked him, greeted me with soft chirps. I learned his language, the slow blink of trust, the tail held high in happiness. Our bond became a true friendship, a two-way street. I was healing him and he was healing me. My quiet life filled with purpose and love. Leo's presence transformed my world. Every day he grew more confident, more at home. The house was no longer just mine, it was ours. Together we found comfort in each other. The past faded, replaced by hope. Almost a year later, on a warm afternoon, I made a mistake. I left the back door open. Leo vanished, the house suddenly silent and empty. Panic set in. I searched everywhere, calling his name, hope slipping away with each passing hour. His food bowl sat untouched, his favorite spot on the sofa empty. I put up posters, walked the streets, shook his treat box until my voice was hoarse. Neighbors promised to help, but every call was a false alarm. Guilt gnawed at me. I'd failed him. I imagined him lost, scared, alone, the world outside full of dangers. The nights were sleepless, the days heavy with regret. My home felt like a prison without him. I missed his purr, his presence, the life he brought to every room. The waiting was the hardest part, not knowing if he was safe. I clung to hope, refusing to give up. My world was emptier than ever. On the fifth day, just as hope began to dwindle, a call came, a beacon in the growing darkness of despair. The voice on the other end reported that a ginger cat, matching Leo's description, was hiding under a porch nearby, looking lost and scared. Hope surged, a tidal wave washing over me as I grabbed his carrier, the familiar scent of home clinging to it, and his favorite food, the salmon pâté he couldn't resist. My heart pounded in my chest as I started rushing to the address, each step fueled by a desperate prayer. There, in the deep shadows beneath the porch, two familiar green eyes met mine, shining like emeralds in the gloom. I called his name, my voice trembling with a mixture of fear and anticipation, barely a whisper in the quiet street. He meowed, a soft, tentative sound, but undeniably a sound of recognition and relief, as if he were saying, "You found me." I set out the food, a silent offering, and waited with bated breath, my gaze fixed on the shadows. Slowly, cautiously, he crept out, his eyes never leaving mine, and began to eat, savoring each bite. Then, as if all barriers had dissolved, he rubbed against my leg, purring a loud, rumbling purr of contentment. I scooped him up into my arms, holding him close, feeling the warmth of his body against mine. He didn't resist, just buried his head in my shoulder, seeking comfort and reassurance. The journey home was quiet, filled only with the soft hum of the car and my whispered reassurances that he was safe, that he was loved, and that he was finally home. Back inside, he tentatively explored each room, reacquainting himself with familiar scents and sounds, then drank deeply from his water bowl. Soon he curled up on my lap, his body relaxing completely, and slept deeply, a peaceful slumber filled with dreams of home. Our bond was stronger than ever. He had faced the unknown, and ultimately, he had chosen to return, reaffirming the unbreakable connection between us. The circle was complete. Kindness, a gentle hand always ready to offer comfort, trust, a silent understanding that transcended words, and love and unwavering affection that had guided him back, had brought him home. My quiet life was now filled with the comforting sound of his purr, a constant reminder of the love we shared. Leo was more than just a pet. He was family, a furry four-legged member who had stolen my heart completely. Together, through fear and uncertainty, we had found our way home, solidifying a bond that would last a lifetime.